We've all seen that disturbing video of a teen being attacked in a Texas restaurant for wearing a MAGA hat. Now, more attacks against the right.
A man in Florida claiming he was assaulted because the driver saw a Trump flag in his yard and confronted him during fireworks.
Also this, a New York man arrested after threatening to kill supporters of a Republican congressman, as well as President Trump. So what is behind all of this?
Here to react, former governor of Arkansas, Fox News contributor Mike Huckabee. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You know,
good morning, all.
As I see this play out, it all started with your daughter trying to go to a restaurant, have dinner. And I see you smiling because, at the time we thought, oh, this is kind of silly. But, sir, it's gotten quite serious since then.
Well, it actually started with the election. In a free society where people choose their government, the one thing that is required for that government to survive is that people have to accept the results of the election. And what we've had since November of 2016 is that the losing side has not accepted the results. So what they've done from day one, from the moment this has happened, they've tried to not only delegitimize the election itself, but they've tried to commit acts of terror. And I use that word very intentionally because when you try to change people's behavior by intimidation, by threats of violence, and by actual violence, and by boycotting them, and by taking away their liberty, that's terrorism. And what we're seeing is a form of terrorism on the left that is unprecedented in American history. Look, it's fine to disagree with election results. It's fine to hate the people who get elected. I say it's fine. It's really not. But that doesn't necessarily destroy our country. This destroys our country. You have anchors like Joe Scarborough saying that anyone who voted for and or supported the president is a racist. That is a ridiculous statement. On its face, he should have been fired for that.
I find it amazing how seamlessly these people transfer from defenders of freedom of speech, even if people say unpopular things, to you should be fired because you said something I don't like. What happened? And before people say, oh, that's not an actual First Amendment issue, I know. But these guys love to say when some right-winger gets fired for saying something offensive, they always say, no, that's freedom of speech. So it's not about the legality of it. It's about the principle of it. And so just like when they screamed, oh, no, you shouldn't fire him when the Duck Dynasty guy said that shit about how blacks were better off under, whatever, Jim Crow or some shit. He said something crazy. They were like, no, he shouldn't be fired because freedom of speech. Well, weird. When somebody says something that's against the right, like Joe Scarborough apparently did, now suddenly that standard's out the window and you're like, he should be fired because he said something that hurts my feelings. I need a safe space because I'm a triggered snowflake. So listen, I'm willing to make the deal with the right, and I've spoken about this countlessly. That doesn't make sense. Countless times. Where I've said, I will never do the stupid, oh, they should be fired thing. When some right-winger says something crazy, if you guys agree to never do it when somebody says something crazy from a left perspective. By the way, Joe Scarborough is not a left-winger. Let's be clear. But apparently he said something about, oh, Trump voters are racist. I don't even know what he said. Whatever. Mike Huckabee's probably misstating what Scarborough said, because Scarborough's a Republican. But I'll make that deal with you. Let's not do the you should be fired or, oh, words hurt my feelings campaigns. I'll agree to that right now. Let's shake on it. But the reality is they'd never shake on it because they always want to do this. They always want to play the victim. They always want to try to get somebody fired when they disagree with them politically. So, and that's Mike Huckabee doing exactly that. And you're not going to hear many people call him what he is, which is against the principle of freedom of speech. Okay, so that's the first portion of this. Now let's get to the more important part. So, yes, there was an incident recently where some kid had his MAGA hat taken from him and somebody threw water on him or something, or a soda or a drink, whatever. And I saw that video. I was like, damn, that didn't look pretty. Come to find out, after the fact, there were witnesses in the restaurant who said those kids were talking about ethnic cleansing, how they're pro-ethnic cleansing. And then somebody got really pissed off when they heard that, got up, snatched the hat from him, basically threw it out or whatever, and then threw the drink in his face. Now, should you snatch somebody's hat? Should you throw a drink in their face? We don't even need to have this conversation. Of course not. Don't do that. Should the talk of ethnic cleansing be condemned? Yeah. Is that a factor where even though the person shouldn't have taken the hat and thrown the drink on them, where we can look and go, yeah, I understand why you were upset. Yeah, I think we could all say that. All reasonable people can say that. But what I've seen is right-wing outlets don't bring up that new revelation that indeed they were talking about ethnic cleansing. So they just ignore that part and then play the victim. And it's like, yeah, they shouldn't have taken the hat and they shouldn't have thrown the water in their face or whatever, the soda. I don't know what it was. But, hey, also maybe discuss the fact that they were talking about ethnic cleansing. But they don't. They leave out that important, crucial point. Then the other things they bring up, somebody was threatening to kill Trump supporters, or some Trump supporter had a scrape on his fucking elbow as they were showing because he was attacked. Don't attack Trump supporters. Don't attack Republicans. This goes without saying. I think the overwhelming majority of people on the left already agree to that and don't do that, so that's clear. But stop, he's trying to make it into a thing that's bigger than what it is. He says Democrats are doing, quote, acts of terror. Acts of terror? Really? Really? The throwing the drink in somebody's face and snatching their hat? That's an act of terror? Would you consider that an act of terror? I don't know about that. You know what seems like an act of terror to me? When in Charlottesville, somebody takes a car and runs over protesters after being part of a rally where they were trying to keep a Confederate monument up and they were chanting, "Jews will not replace us," and "White lives matter." Running over protesters who were in favor of peace with a car on purpose, that seems to me like it's terrorism. But no, the drink was in his face. Oh, terrible. Terrible. So the main point is, these guys, they always say the left has a victim culture and they do the oppression Olympics and it's all about who's the bigger victim. But that's exactly what Mike Huckabee's doing here. That's exactly what he's doing. Oh my God, the right, we're such victims. The Republicans are such victims. Trump supporters are such victims. Woe is us. We're so unfair. The system's oppressing us. These people are crazy who are against us. And it's like, dude, you have the presidency. You have the House of Representatives. You have the Senate. You have most governorships. You have most state legislatures. You run fucking everything. There's been a resurgence of white supremacy. Literally, the groups are exploding. And throughout all of that, you still manage to play the victim and act like the terrorism of the left is a scourge. It's terrorism. It's almost like he's actively only giving you one side because he's a hack and he's a tribalist.